Hello there. Today we're going to take a look at the first episode of Friendship is Magic. Friendship is Magic. Let's not waste any time. The episode starts off with narration, explaining some of the backstory of the show. There were two Alarcon sisters, one ruling over the sun and one ruling over the moon. Eventually, the Princess of the Moon became upset because nobody likes the night time. She became pretty pissed and turned to Nightmare Moon, which is never properly explained. Do all Alarcons have dark sides? In Season 7 we meet Daybreaker, another evil version of an Alarcon, which I'm getting off topic. Maybe later. The Sun Princess then banished the Moon Princess to, well, the moon, using the elements of harmony. We aren't told what they are at first, but we'll get into that later. The Sun Princess took over both the sun and the moon. After this piece of backstory, we're introduced to our main character, Twilight. After this, we raise our eyes on the intro for the first time. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. After that experience, we follow Twilight back to her house and we're introduced to yet another character, Spike the Dragon. We learn a little more about Twilight. She's a shut-in and a student of Princess Celestia, the leader of the country Equestria. We don't know much about Spike at first. He's extremely loyal to Twilight, and later in the season we're shown that Twilight was the one to hatch him. But we'll get to that episode in due time. Twilight finds a book on the aforementioned elements of harmony, and we learn a little more backstory.
The Mare and the Moon, myth from olden pony times. A powerful pony who wanted to rule Equestria, defeated by the elements of harmony and imprisoned in the moon. Legend has it that on the longest day of the 1000th year, the stars will aid in her escape, and she will bring about nighttime eternal.
Twilight's afraid the Nightmare Moon is going to return, so she sends a warning letter to her mentor, Princess Celestia. Celestia is a pretty fast writer, isn't she? Let's take a look and see how long it took for Celestia to write this letter.
There! It's on its way! But I wouldn't hold your breath.
Oh, I'm not worried, Spike. The princess trusts me completely. In all the years she's been my mentor, she's never once doubted me.
That's a genuine question. I think I'd be able to pump out my awful fanfics faster if Celestia taught me how to do it that fast. I'm getting off topic again. Celestia sends Twilight to Ponyville to oversee the Summer Sun celebration, an annual festival in which ponies celebrate their leader. Celestia also gave her another task.
Make some friends!
Aww.
Unfortunately, Twilight is resistant to the idea, and she arrives in town. We are then introduced to Pinky, who is an interesting individual.
Hello?
I live in the outskirts of town, yet she still finds a way to enter my house and wish me a happy birthday every year. Moving on. The two head to Sweet Apple Acres, a farm that mostly grows, well, apples. That horse we just saw was Applejack, the character we're next introduced to. Something worth noting is that AJ had a much higher voice at first, and it gradually got deeper through the first season.
Well, how'd it do, Miss Twilight? A pleasure making your acquaintance. I'm Applejack.
Why? They're crunchy, they're sweet, they're delicious.
They're not strawberries.
We then meet some of AJ's relatives, but only three of them are really noteworthy. Big Mac, Apple Bloom and Granny Smith. These three end up getting more development and even full episodes devoted to them in the future. Applejack is a somewhat basic character. She isn't that much of a goal, but instead her family all makes her who she is. Twilight attempts to leave, but is stopped by this face. How could you possibly say no to that face? Later on, Twilight manages to leave, and we get another character introduction. We meet Rainbow Dash, probably the most recognisable character from the show, although that may go with Pinky instead. We learn almost everything we need to know about Dash from this single scene, which is why I think it works as an introduction. For the most part, we learn about her goals and her personality. She isn't the smartest character, not often thinking before she acts, but she is loyal and friendly, though she cares about. On the other hand, she can be childish and a touch arrogant at times. We are then told about a group called the Wonderbolts, a group that Dash likes to obsess over. The Wonderbolts tend to change quite a bit throughout the show. For the first couple of seasons, they were portrayed more as a group of celebrities than just that. However, when season 3 rolled around, they were shown to be more like a military group.
Do you suck dicks?
But in the end, they're known for one thing, and that's flying, something Dash seems to be great at. Then, we get another character introduction, this time for Rarity. Sadly, unlike the previous scene, this one only really shows the basics. We learn a few important things, like her personality, her creative eye, and the fact that a baby dragon wants to do certain actions with her. But hey, even if the scene isn't all that good, they made up for it with this amazing face. Twilight manages to break out of Rarity's house, and we get our final character introduction. Twilight and Spike stalk Fluttershy in a bush, and watch as she makes some birds sing, I guess. Twilight ends up scaring the birds away, and we're greeted with possibly the most awkward conversation I've ever seen.
I'm Twilight Sparkle. What's your name? I'm Fluttershy.
12 seconds later.
Didn't quite catch that.
You know, Fluttershy's came a long way since the first season. In the newer seasons, she's toughened up quite a bit, becoming more open, and even arguing with certain ponies when she has to. To be brutally honest, I'm not a huge fan of early Flutters. She isn't a bad character, and she was great in episodes like Dragonshy and Green Isn't Your Colour. But other episodes, not so much. The scene ends with Fluttershy noticing Spike and gushing over him. It's a pretty cute moment, and it leads to some nice foreshadowing.
Well, I started out as a cute little purple and green egg. And that's the story of my whole entire life.
Twilight arrives at the library, in which she'll be staying, and to her surprise, she isn't alone. It turns out that Pinkie is the one behind the surprise party. How she knew where Twilight was staying is beyond me. It pains me to see it, but I think Pinkie can get a bit annoying in the early episodes. She isn't insufferable, but I recall watching the show for the first time and rolling my eyes whenever she was on screen. Fortunately, she got better as season 1 went on, among other things. I should probably also mention this character, Derpy. She was just a generic background character at first, but thanks to an animation error, her face became, well, Derpy. And the fans noticed. If you've been the fan of long, you've probably heard this a million times. But it's an interesting history lesson for new fans. Nowadays, Derpy is basically the mascot for the fandom, although a character faced some controversy back in 2012, which I'm not going to get into. We then go to Town Hall, in which everyone is waiting for Princess Celestia to show her face, and where's the sun? As it turns out, Princess Celestia has gone missing, and Nightmare Moon is returned. You three aren't friends yet! Rainbow tries to attack Nightmare, but then Applejack starts a trend throughout the series. Strangely enough, nobody seems to know about Nightmare Moon. You'd think that everyone in Equestria would know about such an important part of history, but no. Well, except Twilight, of course.
Know who you are. You're the Mare in the Moon. Nightmare Moon.
Then you also know why I'm here.
You're here to...
From this moment forth, the night will last forever.
Okay, there's a number of reasons as to why Eternal Night is not a good idea. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the main reason is simply because everyone is going to starve. Looking at it more logically, it just seems disastrous. No sun means no plants. No plants means starving ponies. Ponies turn to cannibalism! Hey, I thought the season 5 finale showed an alternate timeline, where she won in the end, and it all turned out fine. Hello, Starlight. Please excuse her. She likes to break at my house and debunk my arguments. Anyway, with that aside, the episode comes to a close and we're greeted to music that doesn't really fit the mood of the cliffhanger at all. It's pretty unintentionally hilarious. This ends the first part, and technically the first episode of the show. It's a pretty good first part to the story. Rainbow Dash's introduction is great, and the others weren't bad either. The pacing wasn't amazing, but that's to be expected with the first episode of a show. Moving on, we continue to part 2. It begins with a recap of the first part, and takes place where the last episode left off. We get our first look at how useless the Royal Guard are in this show, and Twilight flees from the town hall. She returns to the library and puts Spike to bed, only for Rainbow to fly inside and throw accusations at the Purple Unicorn. The other four enter the library and ask Twilight what the hell happened, and we're given some exhibition.
Some mysterious objects called the Elements of Harmony are the only things that can stop her, but I don't know what they are. There are 6 elements of harmony, but only 5 are known. Kindness, laughter, generosity, honesty, and loyalty. The 6th is a complete mystery. It is located in what is now the Everfree Forest!
Twilight is resistant to go in the forest with the others, but they don't let her go in alone. They talk about how the forest isn't natural, and Rainbow attempts to scare the others, resulting in a cliff collapsing and everyone falling to their doom. Good going, Dash. They manage to survive, but Twilight is dangling from yet another cliff. Then we arrive at our first problem with this episode.
Applejack, what do I do? Let go.
Are you crazy?
Let go, and you'll be safe.
Phew.
Applejack is extremely vague here, when she could easily explain to Twilight that Dash and Flutters are going to catch them. They don't seem to be in a rush, and I think they only wrote the scene like this to add some tension. Though, on the more positive side, I like how AJ briefly looks upwards. It's a nice touch. After that, they continue to search for the old castle, only to come face to face with an angry manticore. They proceed to attack the creature, and we get one of my favourite lines from AJ.
All yours, partner.
I just like how she delivers the line. I don't know. After a little bit of fighting, Fluttershy tells everyone to stop as she confronts the manticore. She manages to calm it down and remove a thorn stuck in its paw, which was actually Nightmare Moon in disguise, funnily enough. After that, we get a rather childish joke.
Oh, wait. I think I stepped in something. It's just mud.
The show doesn't do this type of humour often. I can only think of a couple of examples, but it's usually pretty eye-roll worthy. Then, the trees turn all spooky. I don't get why they're so afraid. I guess I'd have to experience it firsthand. Pinky, what are you? Oh. Could you not?
Tell me she's not.
No. Joking aside, this scene isn't awful. It does a decent job showcasing one of Pinky's traits, but the song, it's painful to listen to. I'm glad Pinky became a lot more tolerable later in the season. Then, we meet another character. This sea monster bloke. I don't know his name, so I'm just gonna call him Bob. He is depressed because his mustache was ruined. Okay, Rarity can't bear to listen to poor Bob any longer, so she puts him out of his misery.
Ow! What did you do that for?
Rarity, what are you...
Alright, I'm just joking. She actually cut off her own tail, and used it as a replacement for the mustache. After crossing the river, the old castle is in view, but unfortunately, there's a large gap between them and the castle. Dash flies over and tries to fix the old bridge. If I had to nitpick, I'd wonder why Dash didn't just carry them over one by one, just in case the bridge collapses. Dash isn't too smart, but you'd think Twilight or one of the others would say something. Like I said, just a nitpick. After almost fixing the bridge, Rainbow's confronted by the Shadow Bolts, which is just Nightmare Moon in disguise. trying to trick Dash into ditching the others. They offer her to become their captain, in exchange for the others, and after a moment of thought, she declines. And apparently Rainbow's a giraffe. I like to imagine what would have happened if Dash actually agreed to join the Shadow Boats. I'd imagine that Nightmare would just capture her straight after, but maybe something more interesting would happen. I'm not going to get into it, but don't be afraid to discuss it in the comments. After tying the bridge, they enter the castle and retrieve the Elements of Harmony. The five stand outside the castle and let Twilight concentrate. Then, magical stuff happens, and Twilight is teleported away, along with the elements. We quickly find that Twilight was just sent to another room, and Nightmare has the elements. Twilight and Nightmare have a brief fight, but it results in the elements being shattered. At this moment, the other five appear, and Twilight realizes something.
The spirits of the elements of harmony are right here! What? Honest, kindness, laughter, generosity, loyalty, magic!
I'll admit, rewatching this scene gives me the chills, just knowing where this all leads. Nightmare Moon is defeated by the powers of friggin' rainbows, and the elements of harmony have turned into these necklace things, each representing their character. Then we are introduced to the best alicorn, Celestia. But Fluffy, Luna had much more screen time. Oh, for God's sake. Speaking of Luna, here she is. As it turns out, Celestia and Luna are the Sun and Moon princesses from the opening. Not too surprising, but it's a nice twist. To be honest, I think I'm the only one who actually likes Luna's old design better than her current one. She looked more like a younger sister to Celestia, not that her current design doesn't show that either. No matter which design you prefer, I think we can all agree on one thing. Luna is the most overrated character in the entire show. Someone just advised me not to finish my sentence. That doesn't mean I have to like it. Pinky then throws a party to celebrate the defeat of Nightmare Moon and return of Luna. Although, Twilight is upset, as she believes she now has to return home and leave her new friends behind. Celestia decides to move Twilight into Ponyville, something that would get explored more on a later date actually. And so, the first and technically second episode of Friendship is Magic comes to a close with Pinky breaking the fourth wall.
Isn't this exciting? Are you excited? Because I'm excited. I've never been so excited. Well, except for the time that went, but I mean really.
So, how does it hold up after 7 years? It's pretty good, I think. The episode isn't great, and it certainly isn't the best two-parter, but it's fun and does a good job explaining the characters in the world. I feel Pinky can get a bit annoying in this two-parter, and Nightmare Moon is a bit forgettable. I'd recommend it to newcomers, though I think the Season 2 opener and the movie serve as much better introductions to MLP. In the end, I think the writers did a good job, since the first episode of a show tends to be very hit and miss. Sometimes a pilot can be great, and sometimes it can be awful. Trust me, this episode could have been much worse. This has been Fluffy the Fluffy Changeling. Thank you for watching.